This is Lindsay McDougall on ABC Illawarra.
It is indeed 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Are you getting ready to finish for the day, finish for the week at work? What if that happened yesterday? What if this time yesterday you were setting your sights on the door for a 3-day weekend? And that happened every week, not just on Good Friday and when there were odd public holidays. This is something that perhaps is going to be trialled. There is a committee. It is recommending the Fair Work Commission to review the operation of the 38-hour work week. There you go. Reducing the standard working week with a trial program, a 4-day week. If you already are on a 4-day week, what's it like? Let me know, please. Let me know. No, seriously, what are the pros? What are the cons? Have you had to give up some income? Have you had to rearrange your life a little bit? But what are the pros of having a 3-day weekend? There's some model called a 100-80-100, which sounds like a really difficult diet. But we'll ask Martin North about this very soon, what this committee has talked about. There's another suggestion as well, 52 weeks of paid parental leave, and you get superannuation on the paid parental leave as well. A year of paid parental leave. And this is whether you are the person who's had the baby or you are the partner. So pretty interesting suggestions to shake up the working world. It is called the Work and Care Report. So it's about being able to care for your loved ones and care for yourself as well as working. What do you reckon about that? All right, to that 4-day working week. Do you have caring responsibilities? I mean, we all kind of do, don't we? Looking after an aging parent, a family member with a disability, children, friends, even care for ourselves. How do you fit it in with your job? There's not many hours left in the day when you get home from work and start caring, which is partly why a parliamentary committee is recommending some huge changes to the rights and rules around work and care and how people are compensated properly for that. For example, 4-day working week. What do you reckon about that? Paid parental leave for 52 weeks and the right to a stable and consistent roster. The aim is to bring more balance to work and life and make sure people are being paid accordingly. Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics based in Thirroul is here to explain a little bit more. Hello there, Martin.
G'day.
So let's start with the more attention-grabbing points. In their language, it is the Fair Work Commission is being urged to review the operation of the 38-hour work week, reducing the standard working week with a trial program. 4-day weeks. What do you reckon?
I wonder how many people who work full-time work only 38 hours. I think that the truth is we work a lot longer than that. And, of course, what they say is we're going to adopt the 100-80-100 principle. In other words, we want you to be as productive and get paid the same amount, but you work 4 days rather than 5 days. So hang on a moment. How is this going to work in practice?
Wait, that's what 180 means. It means that you're only working 80% of the time, but you have to do 100% of the work.
Yeah, so 100% productivity for the 100% of wages, but in less time. That's essentially what they're proposing. So
they're suggesting we spend 20% of our time here with our feet up on the desk?
Well, I wonder about this. Is that, one of the big issues we have in Australia is very poor productivity. So we as a nation are not very efficient in what we do. We perhaps spend a lot of times, moving paper about and those sorts of things. So the thing that's missing in all of this is how you get greater efficiency in the workplace. I mean, I'm an advocate for better life-work balance. Australia is way behind the 8 ball relative to many other countries, and in fact they recognise that in this report that we are a long way off where we should be. And I think the idea of questioning the very relationship between work and society and family and caring is a very good thing. But if you look carefully the way the economy works here, it's actually people are seen as the units of production and they want us to work harder and faster, et cetera, but actually corporate profits have gone through the roof, whereas wages haven't. So, this is touching on a very important issue, but I just wonder whether this attention-grabbing observation about a 4-day week might be missing a big part of the picture.
Are there any studies that if you are more productive in a 4-day week, you can actually, you just slip into that doing 100% of the work that you would have done anyway. You take out those gaps that of productivity that you may not even know that you have in a 5-day week?
Yes, there have been a number of studies around the world that show that actually people can be more productive over 4 days rather than 5 days. And part of that is, of course, because you spend time every day travelling to and from work, where you don't need to do that maybe. People tend to work longer hours on the 4 days, though, so that's another bit of a catch. If you've got care and responsibilities, kids in the morning and kids in the evening, can you work longer the days you're working? And I guess the other point here is that there's an interesting observation about sometimes 4-day workers spend more time working, but not necessarily in the office, but at home. So it's part of this also migration away from the office into, digital enablement of working from home. So yeah, there are studies that say it can work, but of course bosses are pretty suspect on all of this. They say, I want to see my people working and I want to have them in the office working. So there are some big cultural questions that are coming up here, I think.
Yeah, well, what about there's gender pay inequity, which is being looked at, but in particular, the committee is saying the government should work towards introducing 52 weeks of paid parental leave. That's a whole year of paid parental leave and paying superannuation on the parental leave as well. What's your reaction to that?
Well, there's clearly a problem with the way that the superannuation system works, particularly for women who take time off to have kids and are always behind the 8 ball when it comes to retirement. So we need to find a way of addressing that. The point, though, of course, is who's going to pay for that 52 weeks? Is it the government? And they're talking about, well, maybe there will be a statutory level, but they're also saying, well, maybe employers should be actually paying more for that 52 weeks, so paying almost full wages. So there's a big financial question here, and of course corporates are going to say, hang on a moment, we are there to make profits for our shareholders, not actually to support the community. Now I think that's a very important value-based conversation, and I think we've pushed the needle too far towards corporate corporate profits and that, rather than swinging it back to say, hang on, corporates are part of Australia and we've got to think about the societal impacts of what we do too. So I'm actually quite supportive of this notion, but of course, economically speaking, it's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of businesses.
Yeah, we've got Sally who's said this would be the last blow for many small businesses. Will the government subsidise this, which is a fair question? Already parents take leave, business has to pay 2 wages, then parent decides to leave job on return, says Sally. Well, that is, that's going to happen all the time. But will the government, is part of this report suggesting that the government help out certain size businesses with this if it is implemented?
Well, it's a bit fuzzy as to precisely what they're saying, but they're talking about a statutory level of pay for the 52 weeks, and presumably that would be in some way linked to, governments. But of course, the government's also got a problem because its budgets are very tight at the moment. We've got a huge deficit. Interest rates are rising, so the cost of debt is rising. So it's not like the government has got huge amounts of money in the coffers they can throw at this. And I think it really underscores a critical issue. How critical are these issues for a better society? And I think this is a really important report because our society does need to actually swing back more towards thinking about societal outcomes and goals, not just purely GDP ones.
Martin North is with us from Digital Finance Analytics, and Jerry's on the line. Hello, Jerry.
How you going, mate? How's things?
Nice to talk to you again, mate. And you've gone a little bit further. You've, at one point, gone down to 3 days. What's the story?
Oh, it was bloody beautiful, mate, until the other day. Where we work, and back in November last year, it was sort of like winding down for Christmas, and they said, would you like to reduce your hours? And because I only work casual. And they said, what days would you like to work? I said, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, which done me fine. Beautiful. And that was really good until Friday. Last Friday, they said, you got to start working back 5 days a week. I didn't like that. But a weekend, I said, all right, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, you've had yourself a lovely long Christmas holiday, essentially.
Oh, it was beautiful.
But also, it sounds like you're not doing 180-20. It sounds like you're down to 3 days a week, and that means you're only getting paid for 3 days a week.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But sometimes I stop. I mean, I'm a butcher as well, and I work for one of the big companies that put all the butchers off the other day, and no longer being a butcher. But anyhow, it's all fine. It's good.
Did you find that on that 5 day weekend that you, sorry, 4 day weekend that you had, I'm going a bit crazy here, that you managed to find, did you adjust your brain so you could, do more self-care and caring for other people in those days?
Oh yeah, you do. You really do. It's all right. You do the whole lot. you compensate either way, whether you want to go surfing or fishing or whatever, you know.
Sounds good, Jerry. I'm sorry you've lost that part of your life. Good to talk to you, mate. Cheers. All right, there we go. Jerry's a part of a new committee for the 3-day work week. Martin?
Well, why don't we just have a 2-day week and then the rest of the week off?
Is this an auction? This sounds like an auction. Look, Martin, there's another part of the report talking about changes to early childhood education across the country. So this is specifically in regional and remote areas. What are a few of the changes the report's recommending be introduced in this world?
Well, they're actually quite far-reaching, and they're recognising that we have a major issue. So the whole question of when people get care, how they get care, how it's delivered, maybe more government places where people can provide care. Because the big issue for many people at the moment, particularly with high debt and people needing to go out to work to try and actually service that debt, means if you can't get childcare, you can't work. So it's a really critical thing. But it's not just looking after the kids, it's also building a basic educational program, so effectively people can think that their kids are not going to just be cared for, but actually, be educated as well. I think it's a critical element, and for me, that's something which I'm afraid Australia is a long way behind many other countries, and they've recognised that in the report. So for me, it's pretty important.
The report does sort of mention that kind of thing, and I guess all of this amounts to workers, I guess, seeing more money in their pay packet comparably, especially people who have caring commitments. But who is going to foot the bill here? As you said, it's a little bit blurry, but employers and business be upset with these recommendations?
Well, I think so. And the one that really stood out for me was the idea was that you actually, you're not available 24/7 for your boss to phone you up anytime and say, hey, can you do this? Or, and for me, as somebody who's worked in many different roles in many different times, and the number of times my CEO has phoned me up at the weekend and said, hey, can you just do this? So the idea of actually separating
a politician just lost a staffer for a similar reason.
Exactly.
Isn't that's called the right to disconnect? Is that what that's called?
Correct. Exactly right. So the idea is that, whilst you can have your phones on and everything else all the time, there should be a time when you are effectively off limits, and I think that's a really important observation, because many people, frankly, get to the point where they're doing stuff weekends and all time, and then the boss phones, and you've got to sort of bow to them. So I think that's an important thing too. Yeah,
and the problem that's with video phones, they see you bowing, and that's the issue. Look, it's a very good point. I'd love to know if someone has actually successfully, talked to their employer about not contacting you on the weekend. Have you managed to do that? Or do you kind of like it? Because it means you get ready for the day on Monday. 1300 973 300. Give us a call. Martin North, really good to talk to you. I'll flick you a text tomorrow to get your opinion on some other things real early. So get up early for me and be ready. Good on you, mate. Martin North, the Principal of Digital Finance Analytics there on ABC Illawarra.